Today we'll be talking about this, the SN2/SN2 pad. And this pad was, well, it came to be because of Ben, and Ben likes using vintage dip nibs that are rather sharp. And some papers, like Rhodia, have a coating. The sharp nib will cut into the coating, and then it will expose the paper, the structure of the paper, and then the ink will feather. And so Ben was looking for a type of paper that would not do that, so that he could use his vintage flex pens. And what he came up with was this pad, which you can order from his website. I'll link to that below. I'll also link to a blog post by Gourmet Pens, who gave an overview of prices, the options you have, etc. And of course we're going to do a writing sample. Now the interesting thing is, you can buy this, if you like this paper, from Ben. Again, link in the description below. And the first 5 people who buy it and who tell Ben that they learned about this through my review will get a handmade dip nib holder and a dip nib in Estabrook with their purchase. So if you're interested, that's an interesting thing to check out. The paper has, you can get it without lines, without ruling, but you can also get it with this type of ruling. And I've actually used it exactly the wrong way around. You're supposed to do what Ben did right there and actually use the broad bits and then use the narrow lines for descenders and ascenders. In any case, fascinating paper. I did find it to perform pretty well with a bunch of pens, but I thought that today we would just check out the paper with a dip nib that Ben supplied, but also with a couple of fountain pens, because you know that's my thing. So that's what we're going to do. I'll not waste any more words. I think you just need to see the paper in action. That's what we're going to do next. Ben, thanks a lot for sending me this. I enjoy it. Guys, I hope this was useful. Make sure to check out Ben's website if you want that free pen holder. This is November 2014, just for the record. And I'll gladly see you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, so here we go with this interesting pad of paper. And I think that the first pen we should try is what it was designed for, which is a dip nib. And this is also the nib you would receive. This is an Estabrook 48 Falcon. Now I'm going to dip that in Indian ink here. And now we're going to have a look at what that does. That's running dry a bit. So as you can see here, the ink flows well on the paper, but there doesn't seem to be any feathering really. And even when I push the nib quite hard, I re-dip it there. I have to say the paper does really feel smooth. So not only is there no feathering, but the writing itself feels rather smooth, even with a relatively sharp dip nib. Now, of course, the thing I want to know, I'm just closing the ink bottle there because I throw these things over. Okay, now, of course, what I'm interested in is what does this paper do for fountain pen? So here I have a vintage Pelican. This is a fine nib. This nib is very hard. And again, the writing performance is smooth. It's a nice, pleasant paper. If I move on to a very small Delta, whoa, which is blobbing ink. That's why we always have an ink cloth at hand. That's slightly odd. Anyway, that's a good way to test feathering and bleed through in a second. Now here we have a medium nib, and there literally is ink everywhere. Okay, the medium, I just use this because I don't have so many medium pens, and this is what I had inked up. Again, a smooth writing performance. Okay, I just get rid of some extra ink. Again, ink everywhere. I think there was ink in the cap. Sorry about that. Here we have a broad, and this would be a cross apogee. Again, a nice, smooth writing performance. That's a weird Z, sorry. Alright. And how about a really wet broad? This is a Delta Dolce Vita, the big brother of that one, Dolce Vita Oversize. Today with a relatively light ink, but it is a very wet writer. This is that Jérôme scented orange ink. My Z's get increasingly strange. Dog. And what I do with the cap. Here we go. Now let's move in for a very broad and wet nib. This is a double broad Visconti Opera Master. We have now covered gold nibs of different kinds. This is a palladium nib. Definitely not doing my greatest handwriting there, but it's just to give you an impression. And then here we have the final pen. Well, no, I'll use one more pen after this. This would be an oblique double broad. It's also a vintage Pelikan with Rohr und Klinger Altgoldgrün. Okay, and the final pen I will use, I wanted to start with that, but I forgot to put it out. Here we have a very simple Platinum Preppy. Nice pens. This would be the, let me see, that's the 0.3, that's the fine. This is a very fine nib, but also not the smoothest out there. So I want to see a somewhat sharper nib. I mean, it's a pleasant writing experience, it's not horribly scratchy, but it's just a bit sharp. And that is a nuclear pink. Alright, now what I want to see is, do we see any feathering? In all honesty, with any of these samples, even this double broad with Ackermann Shocking Blue, I don't see any feathering. Now what I want to see is bleed through. I'm just going to tear off the paper. I'm going to put this pad away because I'm probably going to drop ink all over it. Bleed through is pretty much absent. Even with these drops of ink you can see a little bit of shade through, but there is no bleed through, not with any of the writing either. So I do find that very impressive. So if you are interested, go to Ben's website, have a look, and as I said, the first 5 will get this free dip nib when they make an order from Ben. And that's all there is to it. I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.